Well, in what's been dubbed Europe's Super Sunday of elections, then, voters in Poland, Romania, and Portugal are casting ballots. One thing that they all have in common is solid support for right-wing populists, whether fueled by disillusionment with mainstream parties or economic hardship. For more on this angle, then, France 24's international affairs editor Douglas Herbert joins me now on set. Hi, Doug.
Or a little of both, Erin. Disillusionment and economic hardship.
And in that sense, are these votes then a test for European democracy?
Look, Erin, you named three countries there, all in different corners of Europe, parts of Europe. All politics are local, right? That's forever repeated. Except in this case, where we're talking about right-wing populism and Europe in general, local politics do transcend borders. And what you were just talking about, these sentiments of people being fed up with what they see as establishment politics, with what they see as only two parties in contention ruling a country across decades and generations, as is really, they say, sort of the case in Poland right now. Voters are literally, their disillusionment is showing up in the form of a drift and in some cases a lurch to the right, if not the far right. I think Romania is the banner headline today, right? We never follow Romanian elections. Whoever talks about an election outside of Romania in Romania, we're talking about it because this is sort of the revenge election, if you will. You'll remember that when a far right candidate won back in November, the Constitutional Court of the country canceled the results. The far right winner it canceled the results of that election because basically saying that it was influenced by Russian disinformation, that there was basically foul play in this campaign. It's coming back right now. That decision is coming back to haunt a lot of the electorate in Romania and the rest of Europe as well, because the man who right now many tip to perhaps come out ahead and to win is the far-right candidate, George Simeon. This is a man who is a vocal admirer of Donald Trump. He is a man who is vocally opposed to his country supporting Ukraine militarily, presumably also politically. He is a man who has been vocally opposed to the primacy, if you will, of European Union law. These are all things which, if you're sitting not just in Brussels, but in any corner of Europe where you are a pro-European, you are obviously going to sit up and take notice. Why? I mean, you might say, well, why should they care? It's Romania. Because Romania is an EU member. Because whoever wins, let's remember that this is a presidential election. Whoever wins this election could definitely have an impact and an influence on the drift, on the way things go with respect to European security policy, and mainly with respect to Europe's support going forward, or lack thereof, of support for Ukraine in its fight to fend off Russian aggression. So these are all things that people are watching warily. The gap has been closing with the mayor of Warsaw, who's also running, the more liberal candidate, the one who is the pro-European. He had been seen as losing. But the far-right candidate, he himself has said, how often do candidates say this? I am going to win by a landslide. He's predicted his own victory already. In Poland, we have the two sort of traditional historic parties, but one is the far right, I call it far right, but right-wing populist party, if you want, the Law and Justice Party, the PIS. They're the Civic Platform Forum of a party which is more moderate, which is the party of Donald Tusk right now, and basically what you have is a circumstance where you have also a presidential election. You might say that it's more of a ceremonial role in Poland, but there's still a lot of influence in this role. And what we saw the last time a PIS-backed candidate, or the PIS was in power, was elected in 2015. It won both the presidency and the parliamentary elections, and it's only been 18 months since a more centrist, a center-right, if you will, candidate, Donald Tusk, came to power, sort of ousting the PIS. If the PIS were to come back, the fear is that Poland would revert to the same sort of right-wing politics. What does that mean? As critics see it, putting the brakes on civil liberties, putting judges that are friendly to the party in the courts, cracking down on press freedoms, on journalistic freedoms, so on and so forth, basically backpedaling on a lot of the things that pro-Europeans, the values that they hold dear. That said, Poland is also a traditional country, and there is a lot of strong backing for the Law and Justice Party, for the PIS. So yeah, these are watch this space. Poland's not just any other country. It's one of the most populist countries in the European Union, and both Romania and Poland are the two most populous eastern states, both EU members. So while I said all politics is local, you shouldn't perhaps project too much out into broader EU politics. obviously it's going to have an impact on the short-term and medium-term drift of the EU on many of the key issues of the day, from security to migration to, fundamental civil liberties.
A lot of what you said there, Doug, sounds quite familiar. The mentioning of nationalist parties, of hyperbole when it comes to winning by a landslide elections. To what extent is the so-called Trump effect then driving this populist surge?
You know, that question has a nuanced answer. I'm sorry to make it more complex. I'd love to give just a very easy, straightforward, simple answer. The Trump effect is there. It has emboldened right-wing populists across Europe and the world. But let's remember, in other places recently, Australia and Canada included, the Trump effect had a boomerang effect, just the opposite effect. You had more liberal, progressively minded leaders reelected or coming to power. So Trump, you can't just assume that because Donald Trump is lording it over America, and he says the world as well, that it's necessarily going to result in far-right populist candidates. We have seen backlashes elsewhere, and we have seen some resilience in progressive politics here in Europe as well. There is a Trump effect, but I don't think you could make it into some monolithic thing and draw conclusions that Trump means more right-wing politics ahead everywhere you look.
Douglas Herbert, thank you very much.